We are live. Sorry, we are live, Sarah, so we're good to go whenever we're ready.
Through you, Joel, I think we were hoping to get at least 1 or 2 members. So if you don't mind, we might just give them 1 or 2 more minutes in case they're on their way.
As we're waiting, is it okay to have a remote coffee?
Always. It's important.
Was there frost this morning up in Grey County?
No, not at my place anyway.
That's good to hear. We're supposed to get frost on the weekend, I think.
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yesterday was a pretty hard frost, Peter.
Yeah, was it? Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's
Yep. We definitely had a hard frost. But it's beautiful. Just weather is amazing in the daytime.
The leaves are gorgeous this year. I have never seen reds this red.
Yes.
The colors are so intense. Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I noticed that too, Savannah. They're just brilliant.
Must depend on where you are because most of mine are still green.
yeah, I was just going to ask. It's do you think we're peaking in the valley? They're not peaking yet in Clarksburg Thornbury. I was talking to a friend there yesterday, but maybe in the valley. I don't know.
Not completely yet, but
Yeah.
the odd tree. It's gorgeous.
Through you to the chair. Sorry, Joel, I don't think we can hear you. No, sorry. If you check the little upward arrow by your microphone, I don't know if you can change the source. Maybe sometimes changing it to same as system will help.
Sarah, Do you think Joel can hear you? I don't think Joel's hearing you.
Joel, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me?
No.
No,
Put it in the chat.
no. Oh, no.
Should he go out and come back in again, maybe? Rob, is that you on comms?
It's Heather.
Oh,
Yeah,
hey,
I'm
Heather.
here. Do you want me to take Joel out and add him again?
I should be in. I should be in.
Oh,
now.
there
Here he
you
is.
go.
Yay.
That's where my never mind. It was complicated, but yeah, I just had to switch my source.
Through to you, Mr. Chair. I think at this point we are ready to proceed with the meeting when you are ready.
Okay, sure, sounds good. Yeah, I'll call the meeting to order. Just pulling up the agenda here. There we go. The first item here is the declaration of interest. So does anybody have anything to declare? Nobody? All right. So we'll move on. So the first thing, the next thing would be to hear from the delegations. So the first item would be from the Escarpment Biosphere Conservancy. So yeah, if you'd like to, we'll get right into that. Yeah, there we go.
Yes, good morning. It's Linda Reeder, and I'll be doing most of the presentation this morning, but my colleagues are here. Bob Barnett, who's the Executive Director from the Escarpment Biosphere Conservancy. Since 1997, he's created the largest Ontario-focused land trust organization in the country. Also, Peter Mitchell, a friend from the Valley who has an orchard there and works with organizations on stewardship, recently retired from the University of Guelph Center for Land and Water Stewardship. So he has a lot to offer about stewarding these kinds of properties. So just before I get started, this is an updated presentation from the one that I first prepared, just because there is more information. And I felt there was some urgency because you know, we are now into October and you're looking at different activities and strategies for next spring, if not already started. And so I thought, you know, I do work with Bob on projects like the Meaford Trail and the Talisman property last year. But I did think that, you know, a little economic development focus, if you don't mind, on some of what I saw might be useful as well. So let's just move now, please, to the first slide. Your forests are providing a lot of special services, what we call them green services or nature services. And that's roughly about $4,400 an acre a hectare, of which $400 is tourism. So while your forests are contributing to your tourism, they're also contributing a lot to the overall economy in terms of these other resources. And in fact, mitigation of climate is among the most important right now. And EBC does capture carbon credits from their own properties, and this is something that you might want to consider as well. I know that the Simcoe County is considering doing that right now. So in 2022 value, it is more than $20 million of green services that you're getting from those forests. Very well worth protecting. So your concern about that is, you know, well placed. But I do know that tourism traffic has not been necessarily all roses. So that's something that if we go to the next slide, I did review all of your plans, and in particular, Savannah shared with me her information that she presented to you folks in May. So I'm pretty well aware of, you know, where you are up to this point. So next slide, please. I hear a lot that nature tourism is all because of, or the problems we have because of COVID. But this very important study from the Greenbelt from 2012 shows that the softer nature types of activities were already predominating. So if you look at these three, I was always surprised that bird watching was third, but that's again even more so now. But these are not the traditional outdoor activities that we think about, whether or not boating, it's not hunting and fishing and so on. So it had already started. It was just not on our radar as much maybe as it is right now because of COVID. Next slide, please. I think, well, I know COVID accelerated the travelers' desire to be in nature because the traditional things they were doing, they were bored at home watching TV, they were bored at home sometimes working, and they also couldn't go to restaurants or movies the way they always had. So they looked to go outdoors and they looked for places that were close to them. So, Grey County and all that we have to offer was pretty close. But this study in 2021 confirmed what I also found when I reviewed Bob's own membership, that nature-based tourism is number one. 49% want to hike and 34% want to just be in nature. And this, I think, and we can continue with the slides, but I think that COVID accelerated this and perhaps caught you unaware. And I think that not just in Grey County, but in other places too. What is important about this particular study from Destination Ontario is that it talks about the amount of money that there will be from nature tourism in the years to follow. $621.8 million is projected, and that breaks down to a couple or a group traveling in nature will spend $910 per trip. And a good example of this is the Cup and Saucer Trail on Manitoulin Island, which EBC owns. And over 20,000 visitors there a year, and that breaks out to about $9 million annually to the local economy. And I think that even surprised Bob. Now, Bob is a really good partner. They did have trouble with parking and accommodation, and EBC built a parking lot to host 50 cars. And Bob can tell you that every time he goes by, it's full. So, again, EBC, good partner to have when you're working on these kinds of things. So next slide, please. Obviously, it's good business for you, and not only here, but around the world. But let me give you some stats because of the things that we already know are valuable in tourism. If we think that it's $621.8 million, what do spas return? $95 million, so not nearly as much. Sports, which includes golf, hunting and fishing, all lumped together, $131 million. So again, not as large. Foodie trips, $85 million, and outdoor adventures, which I know we have here, $73 million. And that includes rock climbing and zip lining and so on. So again, this is, your focus on this is excellent. It's going to do you well in the years coming, coming forward. So next slide, please. This is original research that I did for EBC on their actual members. And what better example of a nature tourist is somebody who pays to belong to the organization, donates their time in terms of being volunteers, and also donates money for the various projects. So whether you were 20 or 80, and that was the size of my sample, hiking was your number one activity that you wanted to do. 44%, the majority came from the GTA. And these other, not so demographic, but more psychographic attitudes, they wanted to be in nature reserves. They're interested in protecting species and climate change. As far as mechanized activities, zero interest. And that is the same as I found in US studies and also in Destination Ontario. So, it may be sort of a change of culture in terms of how we even look at, the trails resources that you have. In the US, it's as far as urban, it's a little less, it's 36%, but still it's showing the same kind of trend. Next slide, please. So research says that they're not going to go away. 75% of them are going to return and continue their activities after COVID. And as a counselor in Grey Highlands said to me recently, it's almost like we don't want the tourists now. We don't want them to come. And but you know, Grey County has been discovered. So it's like you know, it's a good news, bad news story. Yes, they're coming from the point of view as an economic development person. When is that ever a bad thing to have more people? But again, they've come in hordes that we weren't prepared for. But my question is, how can we improve that experience for them? How can we exceed their expectations when they come here? And are we spending enough time thinking about how to entertain them, how we can extend their stay, make sure they spend some money and make them return or have them return? You know, it's the old saw. If you had a great time, you tell 5 people. If you had a terrible time, you tell 17 people. So this, from my point of view, and again, this is my opinion, I think that we need to be looking at that a little more, even on EBC's properties. So next slide, please. To the nature tourist, a trail is not just a route, but a nature experience. And there's that I think is the opportunity for you to create some different activities, experiential activities, tours, connections with other people that are doing like businesses that would work. But I have a question. I have a couple of questions for you to think about, and I'd like to hear your opinions at the end of this. Given what I've, you know, the research shows and what I've told you about the nature tourist, are you, is Grey County giving this tourist what they're looking for, or is there a disconnect between what is here now and maybe what could be? Is there a way to refine these experiences so that you're directing the different types of tourists to different places, so they're not all, you know, clogged up at Hogs Falls as the first and closest stop to the GTA? And this question occurred to me when I was reviewing my notes. If you knew that this was going to happen, what would you have done differently? And is there time to do that now, before next spring, or, you know, partially? Next slide, please. EBC is very clear about their reserves and their trails. And these are the types of things that people are looking for. Particular preservation of wildlife and native plants, foraging, carbon capture. People like to know that you know, the trees in the forest are being used for that. And EBC has a very vigorous stewardship program to create and manage these trails. So is there a way that you can work more closely with EBC to assist you with your own trails? And I think that Bob would like it if all of the EBC reserves and trails were listed on your website as an alternative to or to be included with all the other things that are being provided. And of course, to collaborate with experiences, because EBC already knows what endangered species are on their trails and in their reserves. And is there some way that we can assist you with that same kind of information on the trails that you have? And of course, funding is always important, and EBC is a master of getting funding. The trail in Meaford, the Trout Hollow Trail, just received $20,000 from funding to support their activities there, and I think $200,000 for activities on Manitoulin Island just recently. So worth considering how everybody can work together to get more money. All right, next slide, please. I think there's a huge opportunity for Grey County tourism to learn from what EBC is doing, to know what this nature tourist is looking for, and to be able to give them maybe more than what they presently are getting. And it's like working with what you have. You have the best of everything here in Grey County. And I discovered at an EBC webinar, it's one of the reasons why I got involved with EBC. I went to a webinar that they put on up here a number of years ago. And I learned, for example, that in Grey and Bruce have the most native wild orchids, except for Florida, in North America. And these are things that I think are worth talking about, worth promoting, worth saving, worth stewarding. And there's lots more like that I think it would be nice if we could work together to make those more prominent. So next slide, please. I hope I'm within my 10 minutes. I'm getting close to the end. One of the most important things from a going forward point of view, I know that you've put money aside. I know that the infrastructure has to improve, and that has been your focus. But that's going to satisfy some of the problems when they get here. Is there a way that we can provide better services for them to get them coming and staying? Can we refine these experiences so that, birders are going to one trail maybe? One of my favorite things I saw on some of your studies was the Osprey Wetlands, which is pretty much, I know it's with Nottawasaga Conservation Authority, but to me it's one, and I am a birder, it's one of the most important birding sites that is inaccessible mostly to people. What a fabulous place to heighten perhaps a birding opportunity. And I think there is a map I did in Wellington County that's now on the Grand River Conservation Authority. It's one of the only maps of birding that there is in the province. Just from what I know in Grey County, is an enormous amount of interest in birding. So, but you also have ATVs and you also have hunters, and I recognize that, but the way that your trails are promoted, some of them are multi-use, and is there a way that we can sort of steer these people in different directions so they're not causing conflicts with one another? And Destination Ontario, like I know packages are going to keep the people here. And remembering, if they're coming from far away, every hour of travel, they're looking for 4 hours of recreation or other activities. So this is the economic development hat, if you don't mind, that I'm just putting out there. So finally, next slide, please. Just to summarize where I think EBC can help you, and their experience is definitely on developing your trails, including the reserves that they have already on your website, and for us to work together. I think more research to define just who is coming here. Are they all coming from the GTA? 30% of Bob's group also live in Grey and Bruce. So are these some of the people that you're getting as well? And once you know who's coming and what they're looking for, then it does give you a better handle on what to offer. Protecting the forest and the trail environment is so important for nature and your travelers. So a stewardship program, I think that Peter would certainly support and give you some ideas. And a county code of ethics. Birders have a code of ethics, and it wouldn't hurt. I haven't seen it. Maybe you are considering it, but it's something to do. And then finally, funding support and partnerships. EBC knows perhaps other sources of funding. I know that the Ontario Land Trust Association has some funding for trail development, TD, Friends of the Environment, and most recently Tree Trust has popped up, which will support your legacy trees. So lots of chance to work together, and I'm hoping that that's something that we can do as a result of our presentation today. So that's the end of it for me. I'm open to questions at this point before I move on to other folks.
Awesome. Thank you, Linda. I know you understand, how much we value our outdoor space and our green space. And I think we've spent the better part of a decade, maybe more, focusing on our outdoor products and experiences, knowing that, our waterfalls are our absolute most popular product that we have, and looking at trails and other green space. And the question I think I have for you, on behalf of EBC, and thinking about the land that you have, you are the owners of all of the land, right? Where we have a whole mix of owners when it comes to those spaces that people are coming to, where we own some as county trails, but there's a lot of private land ownership. There's a lot of ministry and crown land ownership. So it's a little bit messy in that regard. And then also thinking about, how are the lands managed? So can you talk to us a little bit about the Escarpment Biosphere Conservancy and, how your land is treated? Is it managed? Are there people on site? Do you have particular, safety concerns at any sites? Are you seeing issues there that then lead to stewardship concerns? I'm curious, how your sites have been treated through all of this, and as you develop them, what's working and maybe what's not, and where you see other opportunities.
I think Bob is probably better to answer that for you right now. Are you okay with that, Bob?
Sure. We have a limited number of our properties now open for public access. Well, most of them, literally, they're open, but a lot of times you're walking on lumber roads or something. We'd like to see more trails develop. We don't have that much problem with stewardship. We do have volunteer stewards checking that the properties are okay. We attempt to get rid of invasive species, but pretty much nature looks after itself. We don't have a lot of problems. Sometimes we have ATV incursions, but really nature pretty much looks after itself, and our volunteers are doing a good job looking after it. But we have quite a few properties in Grey County, and I see the opportunity to maybe open as much as 27 more kilometers of trail. But we do need to put some horsepower into that and get that happening if you wish to work with us on those kinds of activities.
Maybe I can flip to Peter on that, because he also knows a lot about stewardship, and he's worked with organizations right here in Grey County too. So Peter, are you okay with commenting on that?
Yeah, sure. And Bob's alluding, and you're also alluding to the challenges of volunteer stewards and the mix of owners. I've learned a lot over the last few years, being a board member of the Beer Valley Nordic Sea Club with Kathy Little and others locally, and also the Friends of the Kimberley Forest. So the Friends of the Kimberley Forest now have an arrangement with the Ministry of Natural Resources on that almost 1,000 acres between Beer Valley Ski Club and historic Talisman, bordering on the Beaver River on the east, on the lower slope. And it's been a challenge. We've now built a relationship with the ATV organization, with the snowmobilers, with the Bruce Trail. And what I've learned, it takes persistence and dedication on the part of local people to make this happen, including weekenders like myself as part of that mix. I'm immensely gratified to be part of that group. And it used to be called Bud's Place, and Bud used to own or rent the creamery in Kimberley. And I was the forerunner in cross-country ski races for the Molson Loppets years ago. I've got such a deep interest in the valley, and also I can speak to and think about how we connect with those over 800 members of the Beer Valley Ski Club. I mean, they're increasingly now looking for four-season activities. So anyway, I'm just coming to this meeting as a supporter of EBC, and also representing the thoughts and ideas of weekenders, but also known the Valley for 50 years. So I'm also grateful to be invited to be here at this meeting.
One of the things that Peter said that I think is important is working with, say, the ATV groups. When there is, and I've seen it myself, where ATV people have gone into properties where they shouldn't be. And I've seen them coming out of them onto the highway and so on. Is there a way that you can work more closely with these groups so that they feel like they're part of what you're doing? You may already do that, but some of these trails that you have that maybe are only suitable for ATVs, or not combining ATVs with nature tourists who wants to do some forest bathing in the forest, so that they can police their own group and be part of setting up a special program within the trails that you have, or the reserves that you have.
Maybe I can just add that most recently I've seen a huge interest in tubing. When the Beaver River gets a little bit too low in the Beaver Valley section, much more interest now in tubing. And presumably, Joel, it's so nice to see Joel here. I wasn't aware of the makeup of this group or this committee, but I really have a lot of respect for Free Spirit Tours. I've known and seen them grow over the years, but Joel, I guess, would be very cognizant of the challenges of managing the environment, getting to know the environment, and also on a 4-season basis with climate change, with weather issues and challenges, with low and high water. How do we manage people safely? So that's a whole other issue, I think, is managing nature for climate change in terms of human connection to various locations as things change.
Yeah, all of this
sorry,
takes
Linda, go
money.
ahead.
Yeah, all of this takes money, Savannah. I know that, and you have some budgeting already in place. But again, there's a lot of other resources that maybe you can pull in to especially help with trail building and management. And the Ontario Land Trust Association has a number of groups that are part of their organization that they could also help you with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting environment that we work in because, as Grey County Tourism and as Grey County itself, we have so many different user groups and so many different associations and members and individuals that we all have to be thinking about in terms of, how do we balance enjoyment for everybody, but also that safety and that longevity of our beautiful land, and balancing a lot of growing safety concerns, because I'm not sure if it's COVID that just exacerbated the lack of common sense, but there's a lot of scary things that happen on public and private lands because people just don't know. They're not aware. So there's a lot of education that we need to continue working around. And thank goodness we do have some really, really good data sources. I mean, there's never enough time to go through all the data because there is so much, but we are working on that. And, Allison and Steve are very much involved in that so that we understand who's coming here. And that work has always gone on, and it will, forever continue, because we need to know who's coming here and, why they're coming and how long, and how we can get them to spend dollars here, and how we can support our awesome businesses like Joel's Free Spirit Tours, and make sure that, we are really balancing for not only visitors, but also our residents as we go through this. So it's an interesting challenge that we have, trying to be, in that middle ground and balance and grow, but also sustain. So it's interesting to hear, how EBC is doing some of that work, and that you have more land in Grey County that you're looking to be able to, I don't know if we would call it develop, but open, as Rob said. So
can I just say a couple things? Like I got started in Grey County by walking the Bruce Trail 40 years ago with my kids, and I've walked the Bruce Trail. We did that end to end, and I've walked the Bruce Trail end to end 3 times. Only last night, I was counseling some European visitors on where to go in Grey County. And perhaps if I could start off with the example of Tobermory. Lots of people go up there. The grotto's closed. People can't get into the campgrounds. They don't know what to do. We've got all kinds of land up in Tobermory, but nobody knows what's happening. I think the idea is to get your tourism spread out. We've got 6,123 acres in Grey County, but we've only got 8.7 kilometers of trail open. We feel we could get another 26 kilometers of trail open. So like just since August, we've completed 6 reserves on 1,100 acres. Yesterday, I got a new appraisal in Grey County, and I started an appraisal in Grey County. We've got all kinds of sites. I'm just trying to remember how many I wrote down here in Grey County, and there's all sorts of opportunities for spreading the tourists out. I would say that we should look at like getting our properties on the Grey County map and getting maybe 50 tourism locations in Grey County, and maybe a circle tour or a Grey County Odyssey or something, so people can travel all around Grey County and appreciate all the things that are available. Because just like in Tobermory, everybody's trying to go to the few places that they know about. There are literally dozens and scores of places that people should be visiting, but nobody really knows about them. So I would encourage getting the pins out on the map and starting to mark these places and figure out where we should be encouraging people to visit more.
Mhm.
So thank you.
And
Yeah.
also maybe we can get Justin's Oven to deliver pizza to some of these locations.
I will make sure that we follow up after, because I'm very curious about where your other properties are around Grey County, and kind of what your hopes are for being able to open those up. But I see Steve has unmuted, and he has been very much involved in all of this work. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
But maybe we should let Kim had her actual formal hand up. Should we let Kim speak?
Oh, sorry, I didn't even see. Where did Kim go on my screen?
Oh.
You go first, Kim.
Not to worry. And I just wanted to say, Bob, I appreciate your points, and kudos to you and the whole team for the great work. Bringing on new properties is really a tremendous achievement. So kudos to you for that. One of the things that always concerns me when we're working with private landowners is about the how those people are onboarded to get them and whoever the sponsoring organization is kind of up to speed on what it means to have a trail open to the public. I don't know if we've spent a lot of time here with us talking to the Bruce Trail folks or anyone else. I guess not to belabor the point, but my concern is if you bring someone on and they agree to public access, have a bad experience, and then say we're not doing this anymore, it's so hard to ever get them back. Like, it feels like you've lost that opportunity forever. And so I guess I'm very supportive of what I'm hearing here about, a more coordination, and, certainly between ourselves and Bruce County, right? That the grotto and everything isn't gray. But I do want to make sure that this works really well for the property owners themselves, as much as it is a huge opportunity for the public too. So, I think there's some good stewardship kind of work that we could do there as well. That's all. Thanks.
So thank you for that question. Up in Manitoulin, we've got quite a number of reserves open, and Linda mentioned the Cup and Saucer. That's been open now it was open before we bought it. So we bought an active tourist site, and it's been open for 20 years. We haven't had any serious problems, but yes, the OPP gets called every now and then when people get lost. We work cooperatively with the town, who brought in all their equipment and built the parking lot because they knew we needed it. The previous parking lot got closed by a gravel operator who closed his property. Anyways, we opened a new parking lot on our property, and we're popular with the town of Northeast Manitoulin and the islands. So, and they support having a toilet in the parking lot, and they have some garbage bins that they empty regularly. So we've got a pretty happy operating relationship with them, and we're quite pleased now. And we share the Heathcote property. We jointly own that with the town of Blue Mountains, and we're quite happy to be working up in Meaford with the trail, where we now have 160 acres that we got from the Knights. These are all working successfully. So I don't think there's too many downsides.
Good stuff.
Steve gonna
Sorry,
say,
Steve, yeah.
You want me to pipe up now? Yeah, so thanks, Bob Lynn. I think very much aligned, I think, with where we're heading, and you may or may not be aware of all the things that have been happening. I mean, certainly COVID, we all had to respond to COVID in many ways, but one of them was the green spaces. And we really shifted our resources around, put people out there, tried to do exactly what you talked about, is getting people to know where there's other spots. And we actually put staff, we called them ambassadors, to kind of educate people and reroute them. We are seeing one of the challenges, too many people at certain sites. We've initiated a trailhead study looking at 18 different sites and locations, see what we can do there. You know, the Beaver River is a particular issue. We have people going down there on tubes. Yeah. And it's not really, we're really trying to discourage that because of emergency services and no cell service. So we really are aligned, and we have our outdoor management group that meets and includes all kinds of different groups. And in fact, we did make a presentation to an ATV group. So it is all working together and a lot of information sharing. So we look forward to working with you and researching that and sharing our results. And I know, you know, Grey County's pretty committed to the trail system. I know, you know, the CP trail system is getting a lot of stone dust this year, and we do see it as a major tourism asset. And in fact, we are promoting it later next week to a tourist investor that's looking at Grey, and that's one of the things we're highlighting. So.
Thanks, Steve. I see Sue's hand. Now that I'm watching for hands. Sorry.
Thanks, Savannah. Just kind of going back to what Bob was saying and Steve as well. What about signage at these places where we know they get sort of too busy, too many people there, and just a sign that says, what else can I do, with some kind of, I don't know if QR codes still work well, or a website link that takes somebody to a spot that says, within 5 kilometers of here, you can do this, within 10 kilometers, and give them something else to do, to maybe they go 5 kilometers, do something, knowing there'll be a spot available when they come back. It would mean not having to man those areas with a person, and it's the basic cost of the signage, but I don't know how well that would work. Just my thought.
Steve, you want to talk to the signs?
Yeah, we did that actually, and had QR codes, and we did that during the pandemic. We're trying to actually show people not only where there are other trails, but also where the restaurants were, and outdoor restaurant patios. So we did do some improvements to trailheads. I think we're going to have to look at that again. In my opinion, a lot of our trailhead systems is not great. It's pretty confusing, and I think there's a lot of work that can be done there. The challenge is it's been mentioned numerous times for numerous people, is we've got many players, many different landowners with many different opinions. But the solution you're suggesting, Sue, is right bang on. We just have to enhance it and grow it and focus on it, which I think we're looking at. We're going to see what the trailhead study says, but I'm pretty sure that's where we're heading.
It's all good.
May I just want, it would be remiss of me not to add that because Beaver Valley was, the Beaver River was mentioned, we actually do have existing QR codes right now at all 3 of the Beaver Valley access points as well. So I just want to make sure it's not something, it's something that currently exists as well, just to layer on to what Steve was saying, that we did do it. It exists now too.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see next year with those signs up if that helps to mitigate some of those tubing issues, and people actually can read something that says "Don't go tubing here."
I think that people don't believe us when we say it's a 7-hour tube.
Oh, it's
right?
more
I think
than
they look
that.
at that and think, oh, you're just over exaggerating that. It's probably only an hour or two, until they get out there and realize, oh, and I can't see anything and I have no sound reception. It's it's very interesting.
From number 1 to number 2, it's probably more like 12 hours actually. It's people have no idea.
Long. No.
Yeah.
Didn't you have some people last year that got stuck and had to be rescued by helicopter? I seem to remember something like that happening.
There weren't any helicopter rescues. It's in the summer, the last 2 years, it's every single weekend people.
Yeah.
are
Oh my
getting
goodness.
stuck in
Okay,
there.
well, that's way more than I knew.
Yeah. Not all of them are rescued. I know in 2020, every time I drove down that road, I'd see somebody hiking out of the woods with a deflated tube.
Yeah. I think that's what I was wondering around, the EBC properties, because when we do talk about safety concerns, we really do mean people are being rescued probably every weekend on, how many sites across Grey County? 5-10 sites at least, maybe more, where people are being constantly rescued because there are serious safety concerns and people aren't reading signs, and it's just, it's lack of awareness, and I think maybe some lack of belief, and it's a real concern. So that's, when we talk about our worry of how do we spread people out when we don't necessarily have the resources that we're working on, but we don't own most of the land where this is happening also, where do we have a role that we can help to play, and what can we do, because it's a big deal when we're trying to get through this. So it's very interesting, but I really appreciate hearing from, all three this morning from EBC and talking about what you're doing and what else you can do. So we will definitely follow up after this meeting to find out, where those properties are and where your kind of hopes and dreams to see those properties open up and go from there. Because I do think that that's definitely of interest. So long as it's done in a way that doesn't negatively impact landowners or residents or any others. So I think that would be really good to talk about that. But I'll turn it back to you, Joel.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thanks for that presentation, Linda. And it's kind of interesting. I knew about that Critch Reserve down by Heathcote, but I didn't realize that was your organization that's involved in that. So we use that all the time when we have to go and look for people on the river and that are overdue.
And we don't charge you.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
although the
we're
town does at that parking lot.
Yeah, we were extremely happy to be able to present today, and thank you for the time and attention. And yes, we'll be open and receptive to any other reaching out. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah. And just on a more sort of individual thing there. Yeah. With that particular one, the Critch Reserve, if you have anything that you'd like, in any development that you're doing down there, I know that we would be interested in working with you on that, and just, offering whatever we can, just because we're basically neighbors. So,
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, let's move on to the next presentation. So that would be is that Adam McMaster's next?
Through you, Mr. Chair. If Adam is not hopping on, I think it's because he needed to step away really quickly.
Oh, okay, sure.
Would you mind if we just pop on to the next individual on the agenda and we can come back to him?
Sure, yeah. Is that the Georgian College? Oh no, that's
Adam. It would be Lene,
yeah, okay.
right?
Oh, so then we can look at some of the reports then, I guess. So why don't we do that? Let's move on to the first report, which would be Linnea Catalan.
Thank you,
And
Joel.
we can come back.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. I'm Linnea Catalan. I'm the coordinator with the Business Enterprise Center here at Gray. And I am the point person for the Digital Main Street program. And so I'm here to just give you a little bit of information about that and tell you where we are with it and, you know, what we're looking for in terms of getting it out to the region. So Gray County got funding for the Digital Main Street program earlier in the year, and we launched the program officially in September. So we've been running I guess sort of end of August. So we've had coming up on 2 months sort of on the ground with this, and things are going really well. Basically, the way the program works is there's 3 parts to it. It's funded by the program and by the province, and it's administered by the Ontario BIA Association. They trickle the money down to people who apply to administer it, and then we hire digital service squads to go out and deliver services to the region. So the 3 parts of it are, there's the digital service squad, there is the Digital Main Street transformation grant for businesses, and then there's the Shop Here program. And I'll give you a quick overview of how each part works. Businesses are able to access one or all of the parts of the program, and they can sort of pick and choose what fits for them. So the digital service squad is, I think, arguably probably the most useful part of the program. And what it is businesses can contact the squad for a digital audit. The point of the program is really to optimize businesses digitally, and that's really broad in terms of what that means. So the squad will work with them to assess where they are and then come up with a plan for their business. And that could mean something very simple, like showing up to do Google 360 photos and making sure that their business Google listing is functional. It could mean figuring out a plan to develop a new website for them. It could mean creating a digital marketing plan with them. Like, there's a whole menu of things that they can choose from. And it's really designed to be able to meet businesses where they are, right? I think we all have different levels of tech savviness. So whether you're sort of a, mom and pop convenience store or really sort of digital master already, they can really tailor what your business needs. And they are available to work with, at any point throughout the year. Oh, my lights just went off. Sorry, guys. We're very energy efficient here at the county. So the second part of the program is the Digital Main Street Transformation Grant. So this is a $2,500 grant that businesses can apply to, and then they can put into motion some of the plan that the service squad has come up with for them. Again, this is fairly broad about what they can do. So whether they want to hire someone to build a website for them, or whether they want to buy a particular piece of equipment or software or something for their business, what they can do with that money is fairly broad. They do have to come up with a pretty good plan for it and justification. The eligibility for this part of the program is fairly specific. They need 1 to 50 employees. They need a physical storefront that a customer or a client can walk into. So they can't be a franchise or a warehouse or like a distribution center. It needs to be something that the public can walk into. There are some other requirements, like they need to be either paying commercial tax or have a lease agreement, things like that. The requirements are fairly well outlined on the website, so I can get that information out to anyone that needs it, and we make sure businesses know about that. The interesting thing about the program is that you can do a lot with the digital service squad and access a lot of free resources and not go through with the process of applying for the grant. So the way our requirements are for the program, we've committed to ideally serving 350 businesses by March 2024. We would like to hit that goal. I don't think any of us are in the business of giving money back if we don't have to. So, we really would like to see all those businesses served, but that doesn't mean that all those businesses need to apply for a grant. If they access the digital service squad and get some really valuable help there, then that's definitely a success. The third part of the program is called the Shop Here program. And this is the only part of the program that is open for specifically for e-commerce businesses. So if folks want to be selling online, moving to some kind of online store, definitely something we saw a lot of during COVID, especially, they will help you get set up with a Shopify e-commerce site. So that part is available and open for businesses that might not have a brick and mortar presence. So that's the ins and outs of how the program works. In terms of what we're looking for from our sort of advisory committee, our EDOs, our municipal partners, that kind of thing. One of the biggest challenges I think that our squad has identified is that businesses are a little bit skeptical that this is free, right? They're always sort of waiting for, what's the catch? So I think the more voices that are saying, hey, check this out. Hey, this is a good program. There is no catch. The more we're likely to get good uptake. So that's really what we're looking for, is sort of awareness and introduction and kind of an in with the communities. The digital service squad does a lot of on the ground work. They're always happy to come to a community and start knocking on doors and meeting people, face to face. That's a huge part of what they do. But that's always a little bit easier if there's a little bit of an in, so that's not just a random stranger walking down Main Street. So that's the ins and outs of how the program is working. It's a great thing that Gray has it. What Obia said when we applied was, we've been kind of waiting for you guys to apply. It's kind of been this like black hole that this region hasn't really had coverage, except from, a little bit of coverage in various towns and municipalities. So we're happy to be rolling it out. And I'm happy to answer questions if anyone has specifics about the program.
So how do businesses find out about it in the first place?
There's a lot of promotion of it. It's pretty aggressive through social media. We have radio campaigns going. They do a lot of door-to-door work. Like I said, they'll sort of just wander through town and go meet businesses face to face. There's some print media around it. There's print media that can be distributed, like if people have a community group or access to, through chambers or whatever else, there's lots of info that can be distributed that way. But yeah, that absolutely is a huge part of the program, is actually just getting the word out.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're saying, the struggle with people believing it's free, because I hang up on a lot of cold calls from people trying to
and I think it feels
update
like
my business listing.
Well, right. And it feels like it's a little bit too good to be true. And one of the things that we were just talking to our squad members is I said, even if businesses access something like getting them in to do like 360 photos of their business and getting that up online for them. There's a lot of companies that are charging $500 and $600 for that service. So it seems a little bit like, what do you mean it's free? You're just showing up to do it. Like, what's the catch? There's no catch. It's just already paid for.
Cool. And anybody have any more questions or comments or anything? Oh, do you say Sue? Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Joel. Just a question. When you mentioned the print media and that type of thing, is that put out into all the municipal offices at the various townships?
I don't think it has been yet, but I definitely can earmark it. If there's space for that, then I'd be happy to get some postcards or some FAQs or some brochures out, if that would be helpful.
I think that would be to get it into the various municipal offices where some of these people might be going in already, and even a link to the municipal websites, because if somebody's coming to Georgian Bluffs and looking for information about business, or they're in business, I think our website is probably the first spot they're going to. If it can then link through, then I think that would be helpful.
I can absolutely do that. Yeah, if people are willing to do that, absolutely. I will connect with everyone and get that information out.
Good, thank you.
So when people, the grant specifically, when people get that, they can use, like, they could hire somebody to build a website for them and that kind of thing, right? It doesn't have to be through the county. Could it be any?
No, it does. It
Any-
absolutely doesn't have to be through the county. It does not have to be through the service squad. The squad is always happy to recommend folks that are in the region or, you know, that are kind of known operators, but no, you're absolutely not tied to any one operator.
Yeah, I wonder if any of these operators then, if they were aware of the program, they could use that to, you know, if somebody's unsure about spending money with them or something, hey, this program's available, and kind of promote it that way too.
There are a number of, like, the program keeps a really good list of referrals. So if you're looking for someone who's familiar with it, but yeah, there's nothing stopping you from, you know, working with whoever you want and with those people getting involved for sure. The other thing to make note of is that to apply for this round of the grants, the deadline is the end of October. It will open again in January, and they will open it for, you know, 3 and 4, I think it's 3 or 4 months periods, and then they shut down for a few months and get caught up, and then they open it again. But what our squad has said is that, you know, businesses shouldn't feel panicked to, you know, get in for that deadline, because what's actually really useful is working with the squad in the off months and then being ready to go for the next round to apply. So if someone's ready to go, absolutely apply, you know, get it in. But if they just need to get started, it's a great time to work with the squad.
Okay, great, thanks. Anybody else have any more questions or anything? All right, cool.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's move on to the next report, which would be the Ambassador Program. Allison Theodore.
Thanks, Joel. So our Ambassador Program came to an end in August. We had 7 teams this year, and covering, you know, all across Grey County. Their main purpose was to give direct assistance to anyone visiting our outdoor spaces, but more importantly, just to help to encourage them to redirect them to our lesser known outdoor spaces, and also more importantly to the local businesses in the area. So we had a lot of focus on training this year, ensuring that our ambassadors were registered for the RTO7 Tourism Micro-Credentialing Program, TIPSY, and that they were completing the courses regularly and getting that micro-credentialing through the RTO7 program. We also held a successful familiarization tour for our Grey County Ambassadors Network. We went out in early July for 1 day of hands-on training with 24 ambassadors in attendance, plus Grey County staff and RTO7 staff. So big focus on training. Through the ambassador teams, we also collected some data on visitor trends at our outdoor spaces through the use of Survey 123. And while the ambassador program, I should mention, has come to an end, the municipality of Meaford and Grey Sauble Conservation Authority, they requested use of the app of Survey 123. So they're continuing to collect data, most likely until the end of November at some particular outdoor spaces where they still have their ambassadors in place. With regards to outdoor spaces, some general observations from the data collected through Survey 123. We saw more traffic during the week at some of the popular spots, places like Inglis Falls, for example. They were seeing sometimes 15 to 20 cars, even on a Monday. And as well, the weekend was extended to begin on Thursday as opposed to Friday. Thursdays were becoming much, much busier. So that's one of the trends that we saw through that data. The demographics of the crowds that they were seeing, still a lot of GTA, city traffic, residents, and of course the biggest issues centered around capacity, just too many people heading to some of our more popular outdoor spaces, which is why they were so important to redirect people to other places and to the local businesses in the surrounding area. Another positive trend is that the ambassadors, they did report that there was just a more respectful crowd in the outdoor spaces this year as opposed to, the previous year. And while there's always room for improvement and, with compliance, it's compliance is up and that's a good thing. On the event side, we had teams from Owen Sound, Blue Mountain Village, and of course our 2 students hired at Grey County that were going out to events. And I will say for the county, we received an unprecedented amount of requests, to exhibit at events this year. We did events across the county as well as a few in Simcoe County as well. So that gives you a brief overview of some of the work that has been done with the ambassador program over the summer.
All right, thank you, Allison. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they'd like to hear more from Allison? Allison, did your ambassadors find that this year compared to last year, were the numbers different? What people, like the number of people that were coming out?
Thank you, Joel, for that question. So yes, they said that the numbers still remained very high, particularly at the more popular spaces, which made it even more important for them to be there so they could redirect people to, did you know that there are some lesser known areas where you could be traveling to, and as well some great businesses that you could be supporting. So yeah, they said that the numbers were still steady at those popular spots in particular. Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because just from what I've seen in some places, things were less busy than they were the previous couple of years. But it's interesting to hear what some of those areas, if they're holding steady. That's that's cool. Yeah,
I think that's a factor also of the advertising that we continue to see. While Grey County, we are not actively advertising those popular spots, we're still seeing them being promoted by third-party sources, very popular third-party sources, I must admit, BlogTO, Toronto Life, they're all talking about Grey County, and they always mention those spots that we don't necessarily actively promote. So I think a lot of it has to do with that. Heather is up next, and I'm sure she'll be talking about all our marketing efforts, but I think that's one of the biggest drivers for that.
Yeah. Great, cool. Unless anybody else has anything for Allison, then let's move right on to Heather. Actually,
I was going to say, I see Adam's back on the screen.
I just noticed that too. If Adam's back, why don't we take a pause on those reports and we'll hear from Adam.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Sorry, I had to step away there really quickly. My name is Adam McMaster. I work with Georgian College in the Continued Education and Corporate Training, and I have a little presentation here for you guys to share with you. 1 second here, get my screen set up. All right. So we are also doing some micro-credentialing at the college level as well, to further move forward with the training that Allison was talking about. Tipsy is a wonderful tool. So what we are doing here is with the Upskill Tourism Micro-Credential Program is there's definitely been a need identified in hospitality and the tourism sectors in the Georgian catchment area. We're seeing employment rates at a 20-year low currently, and I don't think that's news to anyone. If you've been to a hotel or a restaurant, you've probably heard that most places are short-staffed at the moment. And the reason why we've really sort of looked into micro-credentialing and looked to develop micro-credentialing is because they allow for things that the current academic program does not allow for. So identification of in-demand skills and the ability to rapidly change curriculum to adjust for industry insight are two of the main things that we do with the micro-credentialing program. We do have a group a program advisory committee made up of various businesses and industry partners in the area. I'll touch on that a little bit later at the end of the presentation. But the other thing that we've noticed is the ability for short duration training. Tipsy is a great tool that the college definitely does use as well. LinkedIn Learning, things like this. If you're not familiar with micro-credentials basically have only been around for about 4 to 5 years, and it's basically a completion of competencies driven by market or industry need. So again, that program advisory committee telling us what their potential or hopeful employees will come to the table with, and the ability to complete it in a short time frame. So I'll talk a little bit about that as we move forward. Our program objectives is to address skill gaps in the hospitality and tourism sector in the communities that Georgian College services. But to be fair, we are open to all of Ontario. So we have 2 prerequisites for the program. That is that you have a home address in Ontario and you are a permanent resident. Those are the only 2 prerequisites for the program. We're looking to address the labor shortage by reskilling, upskilling displaced workers, underrepresented groups, and prepare them for employment in the industry. And I'll show you how we're planning on doing that in a minute. Create an environment where upskilling and inclusion goes hand in hand. We feel that companies need to build a diverse workforce. It's a powerful way to improve diversity and retention. Foster a community of continuous learning, which is exactly what we promote at the college. And this program is aimed at supporting employment skills gaps, training challenges specific to today's hotel, resort, and restaurants industries. Moving forward, all of our programs, I will say this, we have some of the best faculty members Georgian College has to offer. I'm still a little bit shocked how we got all of every professor, every faculty member I had on my wish list. We obtained and we acquired for this wonderful program. And our faculty is very careful to infuse a theme of culture, of kindness and time management, coping skills, self-care, and a sense of community and belonging. We feel those are really important things to infuse our modules with. Carving out time to intentionally promote these topics cultivates empathy and understanding between individuals. You'll see our full list of micro-credential programs we have. They include diversity and inclusion, emotional intelligence. So we're really giving our learners an opportunity to dive deep within themselves, as well as learn a little bit, well, quite a bit actually, about industry topics. We are hoping that we will form relationship, develop trust, and a culture of learning that will hopefully, present a more loyal and resilient workforce. And that's our main goal. For participants, participants in the program will receive free micro-credentialing as well as a monetary completion bonus. So the monetary completion bonus is $100, and what students have to do to obtain that monetary completion bonus is complete 5 out of the 7 available modules within the 15-week timeframe. We have free embedded certifications and digital badges, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Participants will benefit from the program through employer partnerships. So what we've actually done is we've created an employer registry where employers can fill out a quick form accessible by the website, or I can send links as well. And they can indicate where they're located and what exactly they're looking for. And when we have our program graduates, hopefully we already have 2 people who graduated the program already. But in December, when we have our full graduating class for fall 2022, we can put these individuals in touch with our employer partners. And they don't just have to be part of our advisory committee. These can be employers all over the Georgian catchment area. We've partnered with our Management Essentials team, which delivers high-end management training to corporations through our continued education and corporate training program. We've also partnered with the academic and career preparation program. We found that we were offering very similar modules, very similar content. So instead of reinventing the wheel, we've made these partnerships, which is great because the way the micro-credentials are set up is that they're non-academic credits. So if you are interested in becoming part of the hospitality and hotel administration, you wouldn't get credits for what you've done in upskill tourism towards academic credits. But we have partnered with ACP and Management Essentials, and basically you can take the free learning from upskill and move over into either one of those categories. Academic and career preparation is a more basic learning style, whereas Management Essentials gets into deeper, more, I would say, theory-based, opposed to certification-based. Our goals are to reduce industry labor shortage. Our goal is to upskill 600 participants, current employees, underemployed, displaced workers, underrepresented groups by September 2025. We would like to create a community of businesses that support inclusive workplace models and is collaborative, open, and fair, and promotes diverse ideas and perspectives. Improve customer experience. It was really interesting hearing what everyone was saying before about, we want people to come back. We want people to come back to our area. And if we send them away with a poor experience, they're going to tell more people about a poor experience than they would a great experience. But with that being known, we are looking to improve that customer experience, and retention of staff is a great way to do that. I don't know if you've ever gone and frequented a place once or twice and you see the same people there every year, you kind of have a feeling that this is a great place to work, and I want to support great places to work. We want to support digitalization. You'll see in our list of modules that we have several modules that are fostering a culture that embraces technology and leverages communication. We want to create an increased employee retention, which we've already talked about. The programs, we have 2 tiers that we're offering. The first tier is the Upskill Tourism Micro-Credential for frontline service. And the second tier is the Upskill Tourism Micro-Credential for managers and aspiring leaders. We hope to put through 600 participants. The cost is free, plus the monetary completion bonus for graduates who graduate within the 15-week duration. And we are running from this fall, our first cohort. We had 51 people join in for our pilot program for the frontline service, and we're running right through to March 25. The format is 100% online or asynchronous. So for tier 1, like I said, we are running tier 1 in a pilot program right now. We have 51 participants working their way through the modules. We've had 3 now participants complete the 5 out of 7 in order to gain the full micro-credential or micro-certificate. So I will just talk quickly about some of the programs that we're offering. We have 21st Century Skills. So this one is through the ACP Learning Network, and basically we're just, I've actually gone through most of these modules myself as well, and the 21st Century Skills is really great. Talks about communication, collaboration, all of the basics that you need to get yourself ready to start learning. So this one I've recommended to individuals who have maybe been out of work or education for several years, and this is the one that I started on as well. And it was a great foundation of skills. Customer experience. Customer experience is one of the ones that we put together that we hope to help industry professionals understand the customer experience, not only the exterior customer, but our internal customers too. I used to work at Blue Mountain for 12 years. And one thing that we noticed as COVID kind of was leaving our atmosphere, we had sort of forgotten how to talk properly to our internal customers. So if I'm in food and beverage and I'm talking to someone in marketing, how is that customer experience going back and forth within the corporation, not just the customer experience for the customers coming in to to experience our area. Communicating for success is exactly what it sounds like. This one talks about digital communication, personal communication, business communication, and in-person communication. Safety 101, we're really proud to present Safety 101. We have WMIS, free WMIS training in here, IPAC training, and a little bit on COVID and cleanliness in the tourism and hospitality industry and why that's important. Diversity and inclusion, as well as emotional intelligence, have been brought over from the Management Essentials and are two of the most purchased Management Essential modules. And we felt that they were right exactly where they needed to be in the upscale tourism micro-credential. And when we did work with the Management Essentials team, we have sort of tweaked everything to be tourism and hospitality focused, where they might have been more industry focused to different industries. The last one that we have is Kitchen Theory and Operation, and this one is fantastic for those individuals looking to get into the industry. Kitchen Theory and Operations is offering a free Smart Serve certification as well as free food handlers certifications. If you're not familiar with these certifications, every person serving alcohol in Ontario must have a Smart Serve certification as well. So Smart Serves, I mean, I did my last Smart Serve in 1997, so that will give you an indication of how old that was. It never used to be a renewable certification. Now it is. It has to be renewed every 5 years. And if you have done your Smart Serve previous to, I believe it's July 25th, 2018, you have to do an upgrade. It's mandatory because now cannabis is included in that as well. The food handlers training. Every food operation in Ontario must have a certified food handler on premise for every hour of operation. So that one is really great if you're looking to get into the back of the house. And just in general, if you want to be a supervisor or manager moving forward in your career, food handlers training is one of the certificates that the employers are looking for right now. Each of these modules take between 3 and 16 hours, and I know that's a huge gap. 21st Century is a 3-hour module, whereas the Kitchen Theory and Operation, because of the 2 certifications, takes 16 hours to complete. It is a long one, and we do sort of source that out. So you have to like log into SmartServe and go through the SmartServe training on the SmartServe website, and same with the food handlers training. They are really long. Does take a long time to complete, but they're so worth it to get these certifications for free. In Tier 2, which in January, we will be launching our second cohort of the frontline service, which I just showed you, and then we'll be launching our first cohort for our managers and aspiring leaders. We will not have a number limit this coming into January. We just did that for our pilot program to ensure that everything was moving smoothly. So you'll see in the Managers and Aspiring Leaders micro-credential program, our modules are a little bit more geared to coaching and to technology. So the first one, we have Get Creative with Social Media. This one is a great tool for anyone looking to become a manager or supervisor in the hospitality or tourism industry that may not have a firm grasp on social media. So what we're trying to do here is give you an introduction to the various social media platforms, provide you with an understanding of how you can leverage social media in order to promote your business and drive sales and marketing in that respect. Tourism 2.0, be a change maker. This one we have Mickey Rivers actually scheduled to teach this one, and this is a brand new course that we're developing from scratch, which is really fun and interesting. And Mickey has been working with the Georgian College for a little over a decade teaching in the hospitality and tourism areas. And this one talks about the business of tourism and how to become a leader within the tourism industry. Leadership Essentials is just that, talks about some of the important things that you need to know as a leader in order to get the best out of your team. Leveraging technology, another one that we've created from scratch. And this one is how in the tourism and hospitality industry, is it possible to leverage the technology that's available without busting the bank in order to achieve those types of results. So one of the examples that I always use is when you see servers with tablets tableside, those are fantastic for a number of different reasons. One, it reduces the communication gap between a server writing something down on a pad of paper and then going over to the terminal and punching it into the terminal. It's punched in right table side and it goes directly to a screen in the back. So you've actually reduced the amount of time that your server has to be on the floor. And you've also reduced any potential mistakes from transcribing from notes written tableside into the POS. Efficiency through cross-training. We found that when businesses take the time to properly cross-train their team members, they have greater retention and greater respect back and forth throughout their team. It gives you an idea of what it's like to spend a day in someone else's shoes. So for example, I'm a restaurant guy, so I use restaurant examples, sorry. But at Blue Mountain, we were having cooks go out and shadow servers. Servers come back and work in the back of the house to get a proper understanding of what's going on. It creates empathy, caring, and respect in the workplace. Also drives retention. Coaching for performance. This one is looking deeply at how to get the best out of people, looking at what types of people you may have working for you in terms of personality types and MBTIs and things of this nature, in order to coach and work with individuals on a one-on-one basis or on a group basis in order to produce the best results possible. And lastly is developing effective teams. And I think, we know that in this day and age, if you're not part of a team, you're floundering on your own, and it is the best way to create retention is by building a solid team, because then you start to feel compassionate and empathetic for those around you. Each of these modules roughly takes 6 hours to complete. So there's no like super long one in this one. So it's a total of 30 hours of learning over 15 weeks, which is roughly 2 hours a week. We wanted to set this particular module, this particular micro-credential up tier 2 for those people who could be working in the industry. Perhaps they have a family, someone like myself, I have 2 kids, work in the industry full-time, and I still will have enough time to complete this type of thing. As well, the monetary completion bonus is offered for this one as well, and it is 100% free. We have several different intake avenues. We do employer referrals, so an employer can refer a participant to the program. Employment services referrals, we also, same type of thing, or self-identification. You can just go onto the website and self-identify and fill out the application. The application takes about 5 to 10 minutes to complete, if you have all your information ready. Moving on, I want to talk a little bit about digital badges. I think we now in this day and age have maybe seen digital badges in LinkedIn or in other platforms such as Tipsy. Allison, I think you were discussing Tipsy there. So these are our digital badges. You can see on tier 1, the top line here, all of our digital badges are displayed. Participants will choose 5 out of 7. And if they complete the 5 out of 7, they get the completed micro-credential badge. When these are displayed on your digital resume or in LinkedIn, when the employer hovers over the badge with their cursor, a little screen will pop out and it will give you a brief description of what was learned and some of the skills gained or certifications gained in that micro-credential program. So it's a great way to sort of show off your accomplishments. As you can see, we have a full set for tier 2 as well, aspiring leaders. So the certifications and employability skills that we are delivering in this are listed here. So we have industry certifications, like we said, the food handler certification, SmartServe, IPAC, and WMIS, and then employability skills that we hope will give people the tools that they need in order to find that right job that fits for them, and have employers seek and find the right employees for their business. The program advisory committee is all here. You can see them all. This committee was put together about a year and a half ago by my boss when we first when the college first started looking at this as a grant program. So we are funded by the Sectoral Initiatives Program through Economic Development Canada. And these fantastic businesses have either contributed in kind or made some sort of significant offer in order to become part of the program advisory committee. As well, we meet with them regularly to check in to see if any of the skills or employment gaps that they have identified have changed. The beautiful thing about micro-credentialing is we have the ability to go in and change our programming without the scrutiny of the academic council. So academic quality is very important with the college, as you probably know. And in order to change things in academic programming, it takes a lot of time. It can take up to 2 years in order to make minor changes to academic programming. But with micro-credentialing, we are not governed by that body, and we can go ahead and make changes as quickly and as often as we would like, which is fantastic. And that's it, folks. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Definitely ready to take any questions.
All right, yeah, thank you. That's a really fantastic program. It's great to know about. Anybody here have any questions or anything for Adam?
I just wanted to say a big congratulations. It's a great benefit for all of our region and for our businesses. And I could listen to you all day long because you can tell you love this. You want to see it successful. So thank you so much for joining us today, Adam, and for bringing this to our businesses.
Thank you. This is my passion. Hospitality work has always been a passion of mine. I was a teacher by nature, and I taught with the college for 5 years previous to this appointment, as well as doing corporate training at Blue Mountain. And when I came back from Australia as a high school teacher, I was unable to find work in the Collingwood area, meaningful work, not just a substitute teacher job. So I found myself working at Blue in hospitality, which is what I love. I'm an extreme extrovert, as you can probably tell. So getting in front of people and talking is definitely my forte. And you're right, I do love the industry and I want to see it thrive. And I'm so fortunate to have this opportunity.
I see a hand up from Sue.
Thank you. Excellent presentation, Adam, and thank you for that. Just a question. You mentioned that as soon as somebody has finished 5 of the 7, they get their digital certificate. What if they want to go on and complete all 7? Is that acceptable? And okay.
Yes, that is acceptable. We do have several individuals, including myself, taking all 7. I'm participant 001. And I thought that would be really good for me to have an understanding of what these students are actually going through. That way, if there's questions pertaining to the modules, that I could be a resource for them. But yes, that is totally acceptable and definitely welcome. If you want to take all 7, more than welcome to. But in order to complete the actual micro-credential, 5 out of 7 is necessary.
All right, thank you. Does anybody have any more questions for Adam? All right, I don't see any. Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you very much. And if anyone would like links or anything like that, please reach out to me via email. I can send off a bunch of links for sure for people who want to either find out more, get involved, sign up for the modules, or become an employer. Register an employer looking to hire graduates. Be great.
Excellent. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's move back down to our reports. So we've got we were gonna hear from Heather Aljo next. Who? Yeah, there she is. Yeah, go ahead, Heather.
Or do you want to do the trailhead study first, Savannah? Sure. I think we missed. Yeah, we missed that one. Savannah and Steve.
Sure, we can go real quick. We just wanted to let everyone know the last time we met, we were just putting the RFP together. The RFP was awarded to GM Blue Plan for our trailhead study, and we're looking at 19 different locations across Grey. The work is underway right now with phase 1 expected to be complete by the end of the year. So we do have consultations with our outdoor management group coming up in the next couple of weeks to make sure that, you know, the information that we are getting back and the data that we're seeing and all of the insights are ground truthed. And that way it will help us lead into phase 2, which will happen next year in 2023, to really look at what infrastructure opportunities there are. If, you know, for example, if a parking lot is in X location, would it actually be better suited over here because there are other locations close to it? Things like that. What type of signage, any other infrastructure needs. And in some cases, you know, even beyond the infrastructure, what else can be done to deal with capacity and safety concerns? So that work is underway. So we just wanted to let the committee know that, you know, since we have spoke, it is happening, which is really good news. So we will bring that report forward to council when it is all complete, which will likely be in 2023. But the consultations are ongoing right now. So many of you on here will likely be hearing from GM Blue Plan in the next little while. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Savannah. Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, well, let's move on to Heather then.
Thank you, Joel. And it does say a verbal update, but I did include just some visuals that Sarah's going to share, just in case anyone hadn't seen some of our summer marketing and social media. So I'll just go through them, just giving a quick update. And since the meeting was postponed, I did include a little bit of our fall marketing as well. So as most of you know, I think we updated in the spring. We ran a summer campaign from the end of May through to the end of August. So it was a pretty long campaign, very successful. We posted a total of 14 new blogs or trip ideas to our website to visit Gray, which we did about 1 a week. And in some cases, I think we had 2 a week because there was just exciting and timely things happening that we didn't want to miss. So we squeezed another one in. And then we would promote those mostly through social media. So in the spring, we talked about our billboard, which is the opening image here. And Sarah, you can move to the next slide. So we went with just an eat, play, stay, or I guess play, eat, stay. I said that completely backwards, but play, eat, stay in Gray theme, back to basics. That's what we're wanting people to do when they come here. So that's just a screen capture of 12 of the 14 stories that we posted. We posted everything from where to enjoy beer, wine, cider, where to go cycling. We had a post on there, where to travel with dogs. That's a popular question we get throughout the summer. As some of you know, a lot of people decided to get dogs during COVID, and now they want them to travel with them and their families. So we were trying to take some of those questions we're getting and those inquiries and put them into content pieces that we're putting out so people can find what they're looking for while they're planning and enjoy their time here. We talked lots about shopping, local food, arts and culture, all with a common theme of encouraging people to come here for what they're interested in. A lot of, you know, green space and nature adventure as well. But then eat and stay when they're here. We pushed a lot of accommodation recommendations throughout the summer as well, with that staycation credit that they can claim on their taxes to get some money back, encouraging them to lengthen their stay while they're here. And we constantly pushed back to the businesses themselves. That was sort of key in every single story, even our hiking stories. We said, you know, here's a great spot to hike that's a little bit off the beaten path, also known as less popular. And here's some businesses nearby where you can go grab a snack. You can, you know, do some shopping, and ideally, you know, have a meal and potentially stay the night as well. So that was our key messaging all throughout the summer. We did include, where we could, alternate places for them to go and enjoy nature anytime it fit into the story, again, to try to mitigate some of those issues we were seeing at some of the green spaces over the last 2 years. So hopefully that helped educate folks on where else they could go if they came to Inglis Falls or Hoggs Falls, Eugenia Falls, and it was busy, or, you know, at capacity even, we could direct them to go somewhere else close by. Most of the stories it's about equally written between 2 influencers that we hired this summer, with the help of some RTO7 funding. So that was Steph Richardson and Nelson Phillips. And then we created some of them in-house as well, which was a lot of fun to do. So Sarah, you can flip through. Basically, I just gave a few examples, screenshots. My presentations are always more talking and some visuals, but if you haven't been following us, these are just some examples of the posts that we did. There's some Instagram and some Facebook posts. So we did little introductions on what the story was about. We created some videos. Our influencers did send us some videos. So we created some of these little videos and put them on YouTube and Instagram to catch the eyes. That's what's really popular right now, particularly on Instagram. So we put a little bit of focus on that. And again, a short tweet out with some examples of where they can go. That's a little less busy. And on this slide, you can see some of the reach that we were seeing. This post alone reached 70,000, and I don't think it was finished yet. So that was back on August 3rd, but we were boosting these posts as well through Instagram and Facebook with money behind them to create ads and boosts to reach target markets from our Environics data. So we were making sure that we were matching up our keywords and our images with what we were seeing in the Environics data and really getting some great reach and feedback with those. We also sent out, I think it's on the next slide, Sarah, a newsletter, which it's usually not that daunting, but we hadn't talked to our consumer list since the winter of 2019. We actually had 2019 into 2020. We had our spring 2020 newsletter drafted when everything kind of stopped in March of that year. So we'd been pretty quiet. We hadn't reached out to them. So you can see we just did a little intro. We haven't talked to you in a while, but we're here. It's summer season in Grey County, and we shared some of our blogs and stories. And I'll be honest, I was a little nervous about the feedback. The theme was we thought lots of people would just unsubscribe because they haven't heard from us, but it was the exact opposite. We had a 48% open rate, which is like double the average open rate in the industry itself. And we had another 170 people sign up. So obviously they forwarded it, or maybe their email changed, but we were just excited to see the list grow. I thought the list might go down. So that was great news for us throughout the summer. And then since then, we've also sent out a fall newsletter, which is on the next slide. We got that out on the very first day of fall to that same list that had grown. And it was sort of neat. People were replying to it, which doesn't always work, but in our case, it does come into our inbox and just saying, thank you so much. We're so excited. Can't wait to come up. We're coming up in October. So it was nice to hear that feedback that they read these and they let them help them do some of their planning ahead of time, because we did get it out pretty early. The first day of fall was pretty good. And then, I just included fall a little bit in this verbal update. We're still in the middle of the campaign. It sort of came fast and furiously. Savannah mentioned the colors are pretty close to peak. I would say, I will be saying probably this weekend, if we get a bit more frost, we'll have peak color. We looked at what we did last year, which was a pretty hefty fall campaign. It was the biggest one we'd done in a few years. We did partner with RTO7 on that as well. So we looked at that content and decided it's really at most a year old. Most of it was less than that. And it was silly just to sort of put it on a shelf and not look at it again. So we looked at the content, the blogs, and we thought, let's update these a little bit with this year's content with some better photos and reuse that. Like, we put a lot of effort and a lot of budget into it. So it just made sense to use it again. So we repurposed not most of them. I think we're doing 8 full weeks, which fall is not quite 8 weeks, but we stretched it a little bit. We started in early September and we'll run right through to the end of October. Again, with some of the themes, the salmon run was really 2 weeks ago. They're still running, but that was to get people here a little bit early. We're promoting fall color touring through the Beaver Valley. Same type of plan as summer, fresh content on the website, promoting it through social media, and then they link back to the businesses themselves and some of the places to go hiking. So there's just a quick screenshot of what our website looks like right now. It's all decked out in fall colors, and we're posting these individual stories each week on social media and helping people with new ideas, new businesses that have opened up, and then promoting them with awesome photos and video whenever possible. I think that is it. Our weekly newsletters are still going out. They continue to amaze me. So we send one every Thursday with a quick recap of what events are happening throughout the week. Last week was a big one. I think there was 28 events in the last 7 days in Grey County, which is really cool. And that list continues to grow. It's just over 1850. So that's quite a few people looking at those events every single week. And our web stats, which is great news, are up. They're up. It's only up about 2,000 visits over last year, but that's still a win for us because our website was really busy in 2020 and 2021 with, as we've talked about a couple times, with those people just wanting to get out of the city and come enjoy nature. We're so close by. They were coming and looking for those green spaces. So even if that has dwindled a little bit, our marketing seems to be picking up the slack a little bit, and we're seeing higher web stats over last year and the year before. So that's great news as well. And we will continue, especially going into the end of October. Most of us here know hunting season happens in November, so we will be pushing out a lot of that trail etiquette again, just reminding people of all the different user groups that happen in our green spaces. Fall is a busy time for more of the hikers and bikers and families, and then it sort of switches into the more hunting, fishing, and then eventually we get into the snowmobiling as well on our trails by the end of December. So always looking at all those user groups, different trail uses, and trying to create that balance, as Savannah mentioned, between everyone coming and us that are here and just everyone using those trails. So that's it for me on marketing, but I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, it looks like Adam has a hand up there. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, Heather, wow. Not so much a question, just a comment. Do you want to teach leveraging technology and getting creative with social media? Because that is exactly the type of stuff that we're trying to implement into the micro-credential program. And I think it's great that you guys are leveraging that kind of stuff, because that will speak to many, many people. What about folks who are not engaged with social media? How are you engaging them, and what kind of sort of non-digital advertising are you working towards in your marketing program?
That's a great question. We definitely have scaled back our print marketing. We still do go in some of the bigger key tourism. We do tourism guides. We do the Grey Bruce Escape, the South Georgian Bay. We tend to stick to some of the user groups that we work with on like a marketing partnership. So we have the golf group and the snowmobile group to get those different people. And we do dabble in radio a few times throughout the year, just depending on what we're doing. So last summer and fall, we did a little bit of radio, and we will have some radio coming up as it's sort of part of this campaign, but it's more of that trail etiquette, just welcoming people on our trails, reminding them of different users with a little like go back to visitgrey.ca to see what else there is to do. So we do try and reach those non-social media users that way. And we will continue to do that. We tend to maybe do a little bit less in print, but I don't think print will ever go away. And then we have our key actual marketing materials, our regional map, our cycling brochure, and our waterfall brochure as well. Every year we sort of get together and look at each other, and there's just constantly a need. We're constantly running out. People still love a map, like a paper map, love a package in the mail to plan their trip. So we'll continue with those as well through, like definitely through 2023, probably for quite a bit longer, but hopefully still reaching those non-social media users just as much.
Well, that's fantastic. Great work.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
For any other questions? I think we're good.
Yeah, I don't see any hands or anything there. Yeah, thank you, Heather, for all that information. Yeah, just like an overall comment from myself, I've noticed. I've noticed personally that a lot of the work that we've been talking about in the last couple of years is like I'm seeing it happening around me from my own observations, like talking about like the marketing and stuff that's working and infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. It's just nice to see a lot of this stuff in progress. So yeah, amazing. Great. So that's all the reports, and since we don't have a quorum, we'll just be receiving all of those for information. So at this point, we are moving on to the roundtable. Are there any general updates or anything from anybody here that they'd like to share for the group? I don't see any hands.
I'll
Oh,
share something
okay.
quickly, Joel. Sorry, I got
Yeah.
a little message from Rob while I was in here. Just a quick note that's just neat. We have those transportation cameras, the road cameras that are actually meant for road conditions, are actually really great fall color prediction cameras as well. So he just sent me a few screenshots for those of you asking what the colors were looking like in different parts of the county. You can check out the road condition cameras. So we just kind of found another use for those. So have a look before you plan your fall color tour and see the live actual color change, which is sort of neat.
Very cool. So I'm just going to move my cat here. There we go. Great. Yeah. Thanks, Heather. Yeah. If there's nobody else that has anything to say, the next item on the agenda there under the round table would be to hear from Savannah for economic development.
Thanks, Joel. This might spur a little bit of roundtable discussion. We just wanted to know we are getting ready in 2023 to do our economic development, tourism, and culture master plan. So this is, I guess, a fancy word for a strategic plan for 3 different departments in one, because we merged our 3 departments in November of 2019. And when we would have been getting ready to do a strategy and master plan, COVID hit. So we are now getting ready to do that in 2023. So that we can better align our resources internally, because we're seeing a lot of themes happening between the 3 different departments where things do merge. But the question for this group is, knowing in your day-to-day lives and what you're seeing and what you're hearing and experiencing, are there any areas in particular that we should be looking at, or any other places that we should be looking at that you think, you know what, they do something really, really well? That we can put on our list for those conversations with our consultants, or any concerns, or something that you wish we've been looking at, but we just haven't been able to because we haven't had the resources, or it hasn't been a priority that we could consider. So I don't know if we'll have answers for all of these things today, but we wanted to throw it out there so that if you do have anything that comes top of mind, we can discuss it. And then just, I guess, to give everybody a heads up that we will be doing that work in 2023, and there will be tons of consultations and all kinds of, panel discussions and networking sessions and working sessions that we will do with that. So you will see those invitations as well. But if anything comes top of mind, because I'm starting to think about the RFP and what are, the very key things that we're going to want to ask. So I just didn't want to miss the opportunity with this group in case anyone had a great idea.
I don't see any hands right now. Yeah, perhaps some people will have something pop into their head over the next little bit. But yeah, thank you for that, Savannah. So we'll move on to the next. Is there any other business that anybody has? I don't see anything there. So looks like we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the next meeting dates, which I guess we'll just leave that up to.
Yeah, we did want to make a note. This is actually officially our last committee meeting of the term of council. So this is it for this group as we're sitting right now. So we just wanted to say, thank you so much for all of your time and all of your input. Because it really does help guide everything that we do, and make sure that we are ground truthing and that we're understanding, and that we have a group to be able to talk about it with. So we just wanted to say a big thank you for your time and dedication over the past several years, 4 years, I guess. Yeah, so we don't actually have a next meeting date, but a big thank you for the group.
All right, yeah, thanks for that, Savannah. Yeah, so we'll move on to the adjournment. And now again, Sarah might be able to answer this for me. Since we don't have the quorum, do we have to move to end the meeting?
That's fine. We can say it's a unanimous agreement of the members present.
All right. Well, then it's unanimous that we'll be closing the meeting. So thank you for all attending, and I look forward to seeing you at the next meeting, whenever that is.
Joel, thank you from all of us for stepping up in the chair role. And that was, I'm sure, an unexpected thing, but you've done a wonderful job. Thank you so very, very much for doing that. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Awesome.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.